What do you need to vent about? I work at a call center for a major US ISP. When I started working here, it was about helping people. It was about technical support and fixing the customer's issue no matter what. My employer cared about the employee's health. What I mean by that is that if we ever needed a quick 5-minute breather from a difficult customer, we could take one. If a customer shouted at us or insulted us and didn't stop, we could tell them to stop or we would hang up on them. If our customers got too much, we would disconnect them. We can no longer do this. The company values their money more than they do our sanity. We're replaceable, but the customer's money is not. We used to be able to assist with router issues, printer issues, computer issues. We used to have the ability to actually fix problems before they arose and make sure that the customer was happy. This is too much time-consuming and not profitable anymore, so we're no longer allowed to do this. Basic fixes such as unplug it and plug it back in didn't work? Too bad. Roll a truck and charge the customer for the cost of the tech who comes out. This was 5 years ago. This was before the company was bought out. This was before the investors demanded changes. Technical support now had to be profitable. We couldn't just sit while fixing things all day. We had to produce for the company. It started with incentives for selling, which was great. We all excelled because we were able to gauge when to ask for a sale and when to not. We suggested things customers might actually need or want. We felt okay with ourselves. Our commission structure was nice, gave us a real push to try to sell something. Then we were told that the commission structure would be changing because it was too taxing in the company. Sales trailed off, but we were still meeting the soft goal. If you didn't meet the goal, you weren't scolded. You were simply coached on how to do better with sales. Then came the requirements. It started small with telling us we had to get so many core service sales per month, things such as the internet, phone, or cable. It was small at first, 5 per agent. Even then, if you missed it, it wasn't too big of a deal. You were still helping the customer. Then our expectation of handling time has changed. It was cut by 3 minutes. This doesn't sound like a lot, but this was time we used to converse with the customer about their day, about other problems that they may be having, time to troubleshoot. Then the sales goals kept rising. We now had to sell 10 core services per month, then 15, then 20, then 25. It's now at the point where I'm expected to sell more than 1 core service per day. That wouldn't have been a problem back in the day. Our customers used to be cheerful. Our tech staff used to be cheerful, but that changed. The corporate environment changed. Our supervisors and upper management who we had been friends with changed. And we're now no longer people that we could talk to about day-to-day stuff, people who we could joke and have fun with. We became scared of saying the wrong thing. The mood tanked, morale hit rock bottom, and has never returned. This place is a hellhole where 75% of the employees are on some kind of medication. We used to have no turnover, and I knew everyone's name. Out of 40 people in my sub-department, I know only 5 people. The customers over time have become a lot less happy and a lot more angry at us. The service has gone downhill. Good field techs have left and were replaced with contractors who don't care if the services are working a week from now, just as long as it's working for a day after they leave. Our customers have come to dislike us entirely, and it makes us dislike them. We understand their frustration, but you can only take so much yelling and being told that you're worthless before you start believing it. So due to this, performance goes down. With less happy customers, you have less opportunity to sell, and the limit is no longer a soft goal. It's a hard limit that if you do not meet, you are written up instantly. If you miss a goal for 3 months, you get your final written warning and then you are gone. I have seen men who have been here for 20 plus years in their 60s break down and sob because they just lost their only source of income, and they know they can't get another job. So now we're forced to try and push sales on people who actively dislike us. And even worse, people who may be naive as to what they're buying. I've heard someone tell an old woman that if she got our internet service, that her grandchildren may want to visit her. I've seen old women lied to and told that our phone service is as reliable as AT&T home phones and perfect for life alert, when I know that it isn't. And in an emergency, it's our phone service that may cause their inevitable end because the power is out and it doesn't work. I don't like this company. I don't like that I've stayed so long that I have no other options. I don't like the bitter person I've become because of it. There's a lot more I'd like to say, and my thoughts aren't very coherent right now because I've consumed quite a bit of a drink. But it's nice to vent. Dude, life is too short to be spent in a place like that. Guys, remember, if it's a place that makes you unhappy, then it's time that you actively and seriously consider making a change. Story 2. My older sister's car got repossessed because she didn't realize that she wasn't making payments on it for the last 4 months. This is less than a year after they almost repossessed it before due to non-payment, and I had to bail her out of that. What I dislike about this situation is that she isn't going to suffer any consequences from this. The car was bought on my credit with my stepdad co-signing because, shocker, My sister's credit wasn't good enough to get a car on her own. So now I have a repoed car on my credit for the rest of forever. Her credit is untouched. And my dad just happens to have an extra car in his possession that he was going to give to me because I don't have a car. But my sister needs a car more than I do, apparently, so he's going to give it to her. So she doesn't buy the car, doesn't pay for the car, loses the car, and is then given a free car for messing everything up. Story 3. I'd sort of like to end a friendship cleanly, but there's really no good way to. As background, I recently graduated high school and I've known this girl since 6th grade, so it doesn't seem like that long, but she's the oldest friend I have. And she's wonderful, really, but not the type of person I want in my life as I move on to college and beyond. Both she and I were in pretty bad places in middle school. People mocked us and outcasted us and, in general, were very unkind to us. Just generally unpopular and mildly mistreated kids in middle school, an unfortunately common circumstance. I've gotten over it, though. The people who acted like that to us, for the most part, have matured greatly since middle school. Thank God, and are really pretty pleasant people now. I get along with them well in classes I have with them. They've proved that they've got over their previous attitudes, so I was 100% willing to put that behind me. No reason for dwelling on things from the past that don't make me happy, after all. However, my friend will not put those times behind her at all. I know the people who made her life bad in middle school, and they too have grown up and become pretty chill people too. I mean, in general, I truly believe that most people are pretty alright, as long as you treat people with kindness and respect. They'll usually reflect that behavior back to you. But my friend has the opposite belief, that most people are mean in general, and she always complains about these people and how horrible they were in the past, and how horrible they probably still are now. I can't even tell a funny story that mentions one of them without hearing, well, in 7th grade, I love this friend, and I don't want to hurt her at all, but I had so much pessimism pent up in me in the past, and I'd much rather have a positive outlook going forward. I've tried to remain optimistic and driven the past year and a half, and my life has been so much more enjoyable for it. As much as I think she's a wonderful and, for the most part, very enjoyable person, she acts as a constant reminder of my past downfalls, and I'd rather put that sort of negativity behind me as I continue on with my life. I don't know if this makes sense, but the purpose of this is to vent, so I'm venting. Oh, and in case you're wondering, we aren't going to the same college. Same state, but 2 hours away, so that distance will probably help, at least. Story 4. I knew it was time to leave my job when I started lying to customers just to meet sales goals or to avoid getting yelled at by a new manager. The old manager had quit, and the new one was tough. I stopped caring about helping customers find what they needed or fixing their problems. I hoped they would fire me so I could get unemployment benefits while looking for a new job. My commission went from $1,500 a week to just $200 because the company changed its policies and how it paid commissions. They treated small stores the same as big stores that made $500,000 a day. Commissions were great in those big stores with lots of customers, but they were terrible for us unless we were really busy, which we weren't. My weekly commission dropped to $100 and I couldn't find another job. During Black Friday, we all worked for more than 12 hours. After it was over, we could see how much everyone made. And one guy made $8,000 in commission while I only made $500. It turned out he was cheating by changing the commission information for customers. They made him take a week off as punishment because it was too hard to fix the mess he made. I was done and needed to get out. My wife and I ended our lease and moved back to her parents' house, which is 3 hours away, while we both looked for better jobs. I found a job in corporate IT within 3 months, and it's now my career, even though I started at the bottom. My wife is still looking for a job. She has a bachelor's degree in education and over 5 years of teaching experience. She's applied to every school system within a 75-mile radius for the past 3 years. She's not great at interviews, but she's the most organized, friendly, and consistent person I know. They can't see that in an interview. I take medication because I need it. I love my job now, but I'm worried about my wife's future and well-being. I'll be upset if we don't get our own place next year. We really want a house, but we have no financial options, and renting an apartment would be a waste since we don't pay rent to her parents now. To get a regular loan, we need to put down 20%, which isn't going to happen even for a $60,000 house. For a house loan, we need 2 years of work experience and a history of rent payments, which we don't have. There's a state program that offers houses, but you have to agree to live there for 5, 10, or 20 years, depending on the price. The houses they offer us require a 20-year commitment because they're all over $150,000 in this small town. We almost bought a foreclosed house that needed work, but someone else bought it for $30,000, fixed it up, and is now selling it for $125,000. It's been for sale for almost 2 years. So that's where we are. Our college and credit card debts are going down, and we're going to try to get a loan together with my current score at 750 and hers at 690. I think we might not get approved. Story 5. I have a small group of friends who have been really close since we were in 7th grade. I love them all, and I love the craziness that comes with being in our group. We have a great mix of introverted and extroverted people, which makes for a good group dynamic. The thing is, everyone in this group is dealing with something tough. One friend has emotional struggles, another has anxiety, one has really bad self-conscious issues, one just lost their dad, and another is thinking about coming out. It's hard to see some of them feeling so down. I'm one of the shyer people in the group, so I'm usually the one who listens to everyone else. I listen for as long as they need to talk. I try to give the best advice I can. I almost never talk about my own problems to them, and if I do, it's usually something that isn't really bothering me much. They sometimes say that my life seems perfect and that they wish they could be in my shoes, but like everyone else, my life isn't perfect at all. I have my own issues, and sometimes I pretend to have migraines just so I can stay home for one more day, away from reality. I would like to tell them about the things that bother me, but I just can't. They need someone like me to talk to, someone who they think is a third party to all their teenage problems that they're going through. Don't get me wrong, I've tried to talk to a few of them about some of my stuff, but it always gets pushed aside for their problems. I'm worried that one day my emotions will take over, and I'll snap. But I'm usually calm enough to keep everything under control. It just really bothers me sometimes, especially when they say how perfect they think my life is. I have to stop myself from reacting and end up faking a laugh. Sometimes I need a break from it all, but at the same time I miss them when I'm not around. It's easier to be the quiet, polite listener, but sometimes I need someone to be all of that for me. He's right. Sometimes the listener also has to be listened to. These types of people tend to carry more burdens than what we see from the outside. Story 6. I'm really tired of never getting any help from anyone. I'm tired of never being important to anyone. My family tells me they love me and will always be there to help and support me, but whenever I actually need something or want help, they're nowhere to be found. My in-laws are the same way and will live just half a street away from them. I have bad anxiety, along with other issues I'm dealing with. I also have 2 kids to take care of. Sometimes it's just too much, and I panic, so I call my family for help. But they're always too tired, going to Kmart, working on the boat, or have some other excuse. They live just 2 minutes away. My son recently had his birthday party, but my mother-in-law didn't show up. She was watching her daughter's baby that day. She lives literally 30 seconds away and couldn't even bring the baby or leave him with my father-in-law for 5 minutes to wish her grandson a happy birthday. My kids hardly ever see their grandparents or aunts. They're always going out to dinner. It's drinking night. They have to shampoo the carpets, brush the dogs, or something else that's always more important than me and my family. One day, I was really sick and needed to go to the ER. I called my mom, dad, sister, mother-in-law. Everyone eventually answered, but they were all too tired. Had to work in a few hours or had some other reason not to help. My husband couldn't take me because he had to watch the kids and go to work. So after a few hours, I drove myself to the hospital. It turned out not to be too serious, but the doctors gave me something for the pain that I had an allergic reaction to. The doctors didn't believe I was having a reaction, even though I had symptoms and thought I was just worked up. It wasn't until a nurse passed by and helped me as I was going into shock. The last thing I remember was the nurse calling my name. I woke up a few hours later and my family had finally decided to come to the hospital. Probably because I had stopped texting for 5 hours and had called them all, begging for them to take me to the hospital that morning. If they had been there, they could have helped me get a nurse's attention sooner. They were ignoring my call out and couldn't yell for help. Anyway, my point is that I'm always second to everything. It doesn't matter the circumstance. If they need to refill the soap dispenser in the bathroom, they can't just not do that and help me instead. But if I don't help them when they need it, I'm called selfish. Yep. Story 7. I really want a relationship. I just want a girl that I can hang out with all the time. I want a girl to just hold and love and be friends with, and I'm just so flustered because every time I think I have a chance with a girl, something happens. This one girl in one of my classes is really pretty. I was thinking about asking her out a while ago, but then she started talking about a bunch of parties she went to and how she made out with a bunch of guys, and I was like, why would you tell me that? I was about to ask you out. I mean, I know it was good for the long run, but it was kind of weird. Another girl I saw last summer was really fun and we hung out a lot, but she is Mormon and can't really date. Once the school year came, we grew distant. She goes to another school and lives far away during it, and now we don't even talk. I miss her. And this last girl has been all types of confusing. I don't even want to go into the details, but basically she's been giving me weird hints that maybe she likes me, but she never talks to me outside of school. I gave her my number before school ended and she said, Oh wow, I was actually going to text you the other day, but I realized I didn't have your number. But she hasn't even texted me yet. I've tried Snapchatting her, but all she does is open the snap and nothing else. She's active on it. I'm just so confused, I just don't know. She even tells my neighbor's dad that we're dating and that she loves me all of the time, apparently. Story 8. My English teacher was really bad. I signed up for his class thinking it would be challenging, but I ended up realizing it was all nonsense. The teacher thought he was always right and got really upset when he heard that a student was trying to change his class from honors to AP by getting a petition together. He wasted an entire class period showing us emails from former students who praised him, even though we could have been doing something useful. He cared more about his ego than teaching us. He also took forever to grade our essays, which were the main thing we had to do in his class. By the time he gave them back to us, we had already turned in new papers with mistakes we didn't know we were making because we hadn't seen the feedback in our previous essays yet. When it came to giving instructions, he was very unclear. We had to write a lot and just hope that he liked what we wrote, or our whole essay would be considered bad. It was also super strict about MLA format, to the point where if we skipped a line in the wrong place, we were sent to the writing lab for help. The worst part was that even though he wasn't even at school for the last week or two before finals, he made us write an essay on a topic we barely talked about in class. We had to memorize the entire essay and write it again as our final exam. I worked really hard on that essay, trying to end the semester with a good grade. But I ended up getting a D+ in that final exam. I'm really upset with my honors English 3 teacher. Story 9. This past 2 weeks have been really tough. I don't know what to do anymore. I spent almost $200, which I didn't have, on a trip out of state to help my mom find an apartment. But my grandmother came along and took over the trip, turning it into a shopping spree, not letting us even look at apartments. She also made comments about my weight and how I'm not dieting the right way. Even though I'm losing weight by going to the gym, she keeps telling me I could lose more by hurting myself. It was a week of insults and mean comments, like telling me I should stay home next time and make remarks about atheists. I don't usually keep quiet, so dealing with all of that left me feeling really drained. On top of that, right after I got back, I found out that my boyfriend of 2 years has been lying to me about a lot of things. We were planning to move in together this summer, but I discovered he lied about his income and savings. It's not the worst thing, but it's causing a lot of problems. Since he lives in another state because of family health issues and money problems, we can't really be together until that's sorted out. We've been fighting on and off, breaking up and getting back together, and now we're trying to fix things. But he's not really helping. I feel like I'm just watching my relationship fall apart and I don't know how to help either of us. I started lying about it, which makes me feel awful. I'm too embarrassed to admit how messed up my relationship is. So I've told everyone that he lost his job and we need more time to save money. And there's more. Today, the neighbor's kids were in my backyard with toys, and when I told them to leave, they said they didn't have to and were rude. I didn't know they were from across the street, so I threatened to call the police. The neighbor then threatened my dogs if they ever leave the yard or bark again, all because of what happened. This town is crazy, and I can't do anything about it because the guy's the landlord's grandson. All of this is on top of the stress of a long-distance relationship, taking care of a parent, trying to move states, and working 16 hours a day to pay bills and save for the move. And the oven and dryer are broken, but the landlord doesn't care. So it's TV dinners and smelling laundry for us. It feels like the universe is piling everything on me at once. I can barely sleep. And when I do, I have nightmares that keep me up for days. I can hardly eat because I feel sick. My emotions are really bad and I'm struggling with thoughts every day. I don't even have time to get help if I wanted to. I'm also dealing with different struggles. I feel lost and completely alone. The one thing I was holding on to, moving away and being with someone I thought cared, is gone now. Christ. I hope things get better. Things always get better. Anyways, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 10. I was raised in the Mormon church, and I really don't like it. My whole life so far has been about doing what other people tell me to do, instead of doing things that make me truly happy. I was taught to be completely selfless, forgiving, nice, and to let people walk all over me. Because of this, I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to learn to be more selfish so I can grow and have some strength in my life. At work, people know me as a super nice girl who will cover shifts anytime and do whatever is asked. I can't handle it anymore. My family doesn't know anything about my other life, as you could call it. Since I started being active, I've had to hide more and more of my life. I've been intimate with different guys now, and I don't feel bad about it. I would do different stuff they would not usually do, but none of my Mormon friends or family know about it. Now my mom is making me go to church, even though I haven't been in about 6 months. I'd rather do anything else but go. I want more freedom in my life. And after being so restricted and held down for so many years, I just want to be able to breathe. I've been saving money to move out and get away from here. I have $4,000 saved up, but it never seems like enough because I get too scared about living on my own. I've even sold my things to get more money to leave, but I still don't have the courage to go through with it. I don't know what to do. And I'm really scared and stressed out that my family and friends will dislike me because I'm not the perfect Mormon girl they've tried to make me into. My advice for her is that she can move out for super cheap, depending on the area she's in. College towns generally have really cheap rent, and she should be able to support herself if she gets a job. Even cheaper if she can get student loans or money from the government. Story 11. It seems like my parents are less concerned about my sister paying for some of her college expenses than they were with me. I went to a liberal arts college with a scholarship that brought the cost down to about $30,000 per year. Every year, they made me take out a student loan for $10,000, even though they could have paid the full amount. They did this to make me responsible for part of my college experience. I graduated about 3 weeks ago, and I'm about to start a job where I'll earn a good salary. So everything is okay, and I can definitely pay back the loans. Considering how many of my friends are unemployed, I'm just happy to have a job. My sister goes to an Ivy League school that costs around $60,000 per year. My parents made her take out a student loan for her freshman year, but then, like many parents do with younger siblings, they stopped enforcing the rule. Now she doesn't have to pay anything. I chose my college over another one that was more well-known, partly because of the scholarship I received. I feel like I was penalized for picking the more affordable option, while my sister gets to do whatever she wants. If I bring this up, it makes me seem really bitter and ungrateful that they paid for any part of my education. Story 12. I don't like the fact that even though I'm supposed to be living in one of the greatest countries in the world, I know I'm not. I know we have a failing healthcare system, a failing education system, a failing veteran care system, a failing welfare system, a failure of more or less everything. To know that all this is caused by our sheep-minded free market and freedom nonsense. Everything is monetized. Our health, our freedom, our interests, our hobbies, everything. Nothing is not made money on. Almost no one really sees any real product or benefit from this except a tiny percentage of people. To know we won't ever have universal healthcare because privatized doctors and hospitals make too much money, literally, making up bills and prices to see what they can take from our expensive insurance, if you even have that. To know we're going deeper and deeper into anti-intellectualism again, where big words are frowned on and looking up and fact-checking makes you the bad guy. To be known as a smart person who never went to college, I don't have a future anywhere. I'm not dumb. I'm not uncoordinated. I'm not bad with dealing with people. Yet no matter where I go, there are no jobs anywhere for me. I refuse to buy into the college system that is bent on making money off me while offering the least amount in return. Why waste my time starting $50,000 in debt into a job system that doesn't even want degrees anymore? They're a dime a dozen. To know the fact that no one remembers cash for clunkers and how badly that messed up people like me and many others. Does anyone else notice just how all but non-existent the beater car market is? It was a whole deliberate, orchestrated event by the used car and new car dealerships to put off an economy, and they succeeded because everyone bought into it. It is a task to find a reasonably priced beater that runs reliably and not pay $2,000 for it, almost anywhere now. It used to be $500 to $1,000, and I got you a good beater. To know that everywhere is negotiating any form of wage increase, even though no one can reasonably live on full-time minimum wage where it currently is. On top of the fact that more and more states are becoming right to work and confusing more and more people into thinking unions make you make less money, even though the inverse is 100% probably true. Not to mention the additional power it gives every employer because they can fire you at any time for any reason and you have no ground to stand on. To know that our own internet service providers would rather stir up panic, creating completely artificial shortages of a product to help enforce charging more for it, not to mention limiting its use and how quickly consumers are allowed to use it. They'd rather squander hundreds of billions of dollars given to them for free to upgrade their pipes and provide every home in the country with easy access. Instead, shutting those pipes down, preventing anyone from using them, and trying to make it seem like it would be impossible to upgrade. All the while, acting like the shortage is real and upping prices and caps on use where there needs to be none. I don't like the country I live in. We're no longer some magical place of freedom and awesome. We're becoming servants, paid as little as possible to sell off the goods to ourselves and other markets. We're not seen as assorted demographics to target for new innovative products. We're seen as wallets and how they can take as much from us, as often as possible while appeasing us just enough with what we get for our money, before it breaks and has to be replaced. We become an asset for them, no longer customers to be treated with respect and garner our interest with spectacular innovation and competition. Instead, innovation is stifled and halted as often as possible. Patients are waved around like spiked bats in fire, all the while attempting to create a need for every product they carry. Story 13. I'm in high school. I'm so insecure and selfish. I don't know what to do about it. I know I'm attractive. I've been told numerous times that I'm way above average, but I want to be top-tier attractive. I want to have a perfect body, flawless skin, beautiful hair, green or blue eyes instead of my brown. I go on Instagram and look at these absolutely gorgeous girls that have everything going for them. I want to be one of them so bad. I want to be one of those girls that guys would flip out at. I'm trying to accept that I'm not. To add to that, I'm not really good at anything. I grew up pretty poor, so my parents never really put me into anything or encouraged me. Now I have no motivation. I'm bad at sports, can't sing, play no instruments. I'm not cleverly hilarious, not a social butterfly, can't dance, can't do any form of art. I'm not good with academics. I'm bad at math and just find it so boring and hard. I'm not even that good at video games. I'm just average. I'm trying to change. For school next year, I'm taking guitar and mechanics again. I'm trying to find the motivation to stop bad foods and start working out. Focus on school and actually study or do homework and get a job. Story 14. I've been living on the other side of the world, 8-hour time difference, to my partner for almost a year now, and he no longer replies to most of my messages, and almost never sends a message of his own accord. Sometimes I look back over our Skype history and end up crying as I see the start of the log, where at first it's mostly calls interspersed with things like, "You awake?" He even made several missed calls in a row, even though I wasn't online the first couple of days after I moved house and I didn't have internet access at first. He would tell me how much he missed me, would laugh with me over stupid jokes, and would encourage me through my readjustment to life in my home country. Now the log is just silent. I think I've only heard his voice about 3 or 4 times over the past 5 or so months. It wouldn't be so bad if it was someone I could forget about, but it's not. We're very serious. We've spoken about marriage in the future, and I've worked so hard this year, in spite of my loneliness, in spite of the reverse culture shock and the cold, gray skies and the living conditions in my room, the social isolation and the tedious classes I've needed to plow through to finally get that one precious piece of paper. I've worked so hard, all just so that I could get a secure job back in the country where I met him. The country where I built up a home, friends, a relationship, and an entire life, only to be torn away from it for a year. Torn back to a country where nobody understands me at all and can't imagine the things I experienced in my time away from home. I'm the only one in my entire country who has seen the fireflies lighting up the path to the forests outside my house in the middle of the night. The only one who has sat down with our friends underneath the starry sky there and cooked vegetables we grew ourselves with our own hands. Cooked them on a barbecue around which we sat with cool drinks in the humid summer heat. I miss the sound of the cicadas and the crickets, the greenness of the greenery there, the scent of flowers in the morning breeze, the lizards and snakes you could sometimes find in the path to school. I miss the cooling rush of air you could feel if you let yourself go break free down the hill on your bicycle. I miss the feeling of dark, nutrient-rich forest soil between my hands that was perfect for farming. I miss the dragonflies and the butterflies as large as the birds in my own country. I miss the taste of real tomatoes grown in a matter of moments in a climate that actually has sunshine. And I miss the people. I miss how hard they work and how much they encourage each other. Back home, we just complain over the slightest thing and almost try and outdo each other in how lazy we are. Since coming back, everyone in my classes keeps their distance from me because I became good at the language we studied during that year abroad. They went away to cities or were in the country but were with their friends, so they never had to struggle to learn the language to make any. I worked day and night, and thanks to the support of a teacher who had originally told me she couldn't allow me into the class my friends were in because I had completely failed the test, and thanks to how inspiring it was to see people close around me working hard to improve themselves rather than waste their lives away, I did my best to keep up and managed to get over 90% in the end. But what was the point of all that effort now? It used to be necessary for me to talk to anyone, to communicate at all. Now it's actively pushing everyone away from me. Because every time I get asked a question in class, my fluency makes people think I'm a jumped-up show-off. I just try to shrink away in the corner now. Nobody wants me around. I've kind of drifted away from the point, but I say all this because my partner knows all this. He knows how I feel. I've poured my heart out to him before, so many times. And besides which, he was there with me when I planted that field of vegetables outside our home. He was there when we drove to the top of the mountain to see the stars. He was there when I cried on the day I had to move out and leave everyone behind. He knows, but I don't get a break from my loneliness anymore. I spent most of winter preparing for a speech contest I never wanted to give because I dislike public speaking. It turned me into a nervous person, because the first prize was a return air ticket to his country. I didn't win. I tried my best to write a thesis I have no confidence or interest in, because I need to graduate to get a job in his country. I grew out my hair, messed up my feet in heels, and went through a horrible application process to land a 1-year job in an area near him. But now, he says he doesn't think he can meet me until a few weeks after I move to his country. No dramatic reunion at the airport, no housewarming, no nothing. Because he's busy at his degree. But he says we should definitely meet up at some point in the month I move over. My birthday happens to be in that month, so I should hope so, really. Story 15. I love my girlfriend. I really do. She left for New York almost a month ago, on a whim after she got fired from her previous job, to try her luck in her job market. Since where we're from, things didn't work out. Right now, I'm working 2 jobs to try and save up as much as I can, so in case she does land something, I can move over there. Thing is, right now I feel so unlucky. I don't like my full-time job. I hardly ever go out anymore, and I feel incredibly alone even though I have my own friends around that I see sometimes when I do have some free time. I just feel abandoned in a way. We've been together for more than 3 years, and it felt so bad when she told me she's leaving for New York. We still talk plenty. We still have all these feelings for each other. I'm just honestly still scared of the uncertainty of it all. I try to get myself so busy that I don't have the time to sulk on it, but I don't know what to do with myself anymore. I miss her. Story 16. I'm scared I'm going to lose my best friend. He went to a major state university and joined a group, and those things changed him not for the better. We used to be so alike, really only wanting to chill and listen to music. Now for him, it's always about more. More people, more fun. I'm not against meeting new people, but the way he goes about it just makes me mad. It's come to the point where I consciously miss his calls and texts because I don't enjoy being with him. When we do hang out, it's him stopping me off in every single sentence or one-upping me when I tell him something. And recently, since returning from school, he told me he thinks he has problems. As someone who's battled with those for years, normally I'd be all over helping him. But he isn't. This is just the first time problems weren't handed to him off a silver platter. It frustrates me so much that he believes that because his classes weren't a breeze and his parents won't give him an unlimited budget that life is hard. He's been my best friend since middle school, and it scares me that I might not like him soon. I want to say something, but knowing him, he'll make excuses or some other lies. Story 17. Here's my vent. After 2 years of job searching, I got super lucky and found 2 jobs. However, I was getting exhausted and we were starting to notice some issues with my son, so I had to let one job go. In making the decision, I spoke with both employers to see what the better fit would be for me. One employer wasn't a good fit, whereas the other gave me a 90-cent raise, while guaranteeing me a decent amount of hours. So I let the other job go and started working only for one company. Since I did this, I've gone maybe 10 hours a week and sometimes only 9.5 hours. I asked if I could go in early to help with the truck to gain a couple hours a day. The manager agreed and said that would be no problem, but now she has me going in early and leaving early so the hours are still the same. My husband wants me to give her an ultimatum, that if I don't get the hours I was promised, I'm leaving. But that won't help in the long run, because I am certain my manager would just tell me to leave. We already can't afford groceries or gas, and me losing my income would make it that much worse. I'm just at my wit's end, and I'm finding it hard to function some days because I'm stressing so much. Story 18. A lot of people brush off teen love as just something we all go through, but I haven't been able to get through this on my own. I'm sure at least someone in the history of ever has felt what I'm going through, yet nobody seems to want to help. I'm in love with a girl who has emotional problems. We were dating for a month, maybe more. We've known each other for at least a year. We were happy and shared strong feelings. I'm moving to Norway in less than a month. I told her this at the start of our relationship. She didn't seem to mind all that much at first. She told me she loved me some days later. But 3 weeks ago, out of the blue, she says we're moving too fast and she doesn't want to get too attached. I was completely blindsided by this and struggled to cope or even respond to the situation. I was immersed in the feelings we shared and devastated when they were retracted in less than a blink of an eye. For 3 weeks, I've tried to regain my footing. I've tried to talk to friends, distract myself with games, even wrote a song or 2. But all I can think about is her. I'm just not the same without her. For 3 weeks, I've tried to convince myself that there are other girls out there just as good as her. I've tried to look forward to Norway and to see all my mates again. But I just can't. I've tried convincing myself I don't need her, but I just can't. Obviously, I've contacted her. It's not like we aren't talking or anything. I'm just taking some time to regain my composure. Everything I try to say seems to come out wrong, and I feel like I'm pushing her further and further away. I'd give anything to be able to wrap my arms around her and hold her close again. I just don't know what to do with myself. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. Catch you in that video.